Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
In the antechamber beneath Everfrost, Seraphina slowly walks around, inspecting the corpses laying in a circle. She flicks at the dirt with the end of her staff. Seeing something, she bends down and brushes away the top layer, and carefully lifts a silver locket. Opening the battered artifact, she reads the inscription and smiles. Carefully, she places it in a pocket on her belt, covering it with the leather lid and patting it gently.
Grave robbery is still a crime, isn't it?
Says a voice from behind her. Seraphina, careful not to move too quickly, pivots to fully face the girl with the blonde braids.
You must be Alexa Storm. I've read a lot about you over the years. Oh, really?
Alexa responds brightly.
I have no idea who you are.
There's no reason you would. You died years before I ever visited Frost Hollow.
I see. Isn't death funny? My father always said it wasn't something to be feared if you were prepared. Who are you?
Seraphina's grip on her staff tightens momentarily as Alexa's eyes flick to the change in tension and back, almost imperceptibly.
I'm an old friend of Tock's.
He tells me that you've made a deal with his group.
That's right. They're so very desperate to enact revenge on Ericsson that they practically begged me to accept their help. It was the least I could do. I like Tock. Is he any relation to Advaris? He once tried to stop me and my father, so we played a little game with him. We thought it would be funny to put him in the body of his little machine. That is funny, isn't it?
The whites of Seraphina's eyes widen. Again, Alexa notices the change. Seraphina begins to mutter, and in the cavern, energy increases, becoming louder and louder. Seraphina's staff bursts into light as she pivots on her back foot, raises the staff and bellows in Allokian. A black beam of anti-energy bursts from the staff straight at Alexa, who simply clicks her fingers and it dissipates. Without a second's pause, Seraphina creates an orb in her free hand and slings it at the child, who calmly steps aside as it crashes into the wall behind her. Alexa smiles, and Seraphina matches it, before spinning on her back foot as her staff changes into a golden club, and she swings it in a long arc down towards the top of Alexa's head. But a shield of smoke appears at the last minute. The golden club rebounds the energy of the attack, and Seraphina is knocked to the ground. Alexa, however, does not press her advantage.
Silly, really. There's no point fighting me in here. Or anywhere, really. I don't think we're enemies.
When this is over, you cannot be allowed to leave Frost Hollow.
Oh, I scarcely think you're in a position to stop me from doing anything. Honestly, I'm really no threat to you. Or the Roshan.
Alexa's eyes linger on Seraphina as she gets to her feet, looking for a reaction. Seraphina brushes the dirt off of her.
How do you know that word? Oh, Tock. He was very chatty. Like I said, I liked him. He's such a sweetheart. You need not fear. I'm no threat to you or your little band. I will uphold my end of the bargain. I will destroy the corruption, and then I will leave. There's a whole world out there for me to explore.
If you follow the path your father took, I will make it my business to stop you.
Don't be silly. I was there. I know my father's work is complete. You are living proof of that. I will simply content myself with witnessing life.
Seraphina, now stood fully, steps face to face with Alexa.
You're lying.
Alexa smiles sweetly again.
Don't you have somewhere you need to be?
As Seraphina stares into Alexa's blue eyes, she sees, in the pupil, a small flash of lightning. Backing away carefully, she leaves the antechamber.
See you soon.
Welcome one and all to Dice Company's Small Embers Chapter 66, where a group of friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of the Order of the Heron. Order of the Heron, please introduce yourselves and tell us one fun fact about your characters.
Hello, my name is Dave and I play Petren Oakflower. For today's fun fact, Petren would like to read from a pre-prepared statement. Hello. Sometime previously, I shared my reflections on the subject of badgers. It has been brought to my attention that when doing so, I was not sufficiently precise with my language. This could have led people to believe that my thoughts on this topic were also relevant to honey badgers. I would like to clarify that this is not the case. The honey badger is a proud and noble, and also somewhat terrifying, creature, for whom I hold nothing but the highest regard. I regret any distress or inconvenience my intemperate language may have caused. Statement ends.
All good apologies end with statement ends.
Were you contacted by the Honey Badgers Union or something?
You don't want to mess with them.
I can't imagine one of them writing a letter, by the way. Presumably it's just scratch marks down a page. Or...
Well, that's the kind of anti-big honey badger sentiment we don't want to hear in this podcast.
I will be sending you my written apology in next week's podcast.
Just amazing.
Hi, I'm Charlie and I play Vander Finnick. Vander's dreams have stopped in recent weeks. Since they seem to point to one future, maybe that future has simply been snuffed out. Or maybe the dreams stop when you're on the right path. That gives Vander pause because the thought of being on the right path is a little disconcerting. Until the answer hits him. Maybe most people have a path because they only have the one life. But as Vander has many, surely he has many paths. His conclusion is that there's still more than enough time to finish everything that must be done. That brings with it a wave of pleasure and a dark chuckle in Vander's mind.
I'm going to enjoy killing you so much.
Also, I was going to say, the dreams weren't of Augustus, were they?
No, actually they weren't. I think they were. Vander's got plenty of mistakes to dream about.
That path has ended. Yeah.
Snuffed out.
Augustus still had one or two things he was hoping to do, but never mind.
We were just discussing how Vander's now got his stuff. He can't really do as much as Augustus could with it because he isn't, a paladin, but
Neither was Augustus.
we may do.
Jeez, too soon, you fucks.
I actually did feel too soon. I was a little made myself sad.
What is this feeling? Regret?
Yeah, exactly. Hunger.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I play Tock, an imposing 6'8" automaton. Tock has discovered a spelling error in the Journal of Elias the Wanderer. Book 9 claims that vampires have abandoned their humanity, but the collective noun for humans does not make sense as an object that they could have lost. Tock has corrected it to abandon their huge manatee, as large aquatic mammals are awkward to carry, and thus it makes sense that they would be abandoned.
Oh, the huge manatee!
Come up with this. I can't work it out. Do you actually, is this how you see the world and you have to filter it back to like what would the humans expect you to say? And that's what you've been doing the whole time. Is this your unfettered thinking?
I normally play a character called Harry.
I tell you, someone asked how we feel about the characters we create and whether we fall in love with them straight away or grow to love them. And it's a sign of how deeply I care about my characters that when you said that there was a spelling mistake in Elias's journal, I thought of Elias, my character, thought, no, there fucking isn't. I will climb through this screen and throttle you for the slander.
I feel bad for all the NPCs I've just casually dismissed now.
Or killed.
How many of them wanted to climb through the screen and throttle you?
I don't think TTRPGs would be as popular if the characters could do that.
I
probably for a different audience.
Yeah.
Risky, but fun.
So many products should come with that.
Risky, but fun. Letting off fireworks with your bare hands. Risky, but fun. Don't do that, people.
For the love of God. Cut!
Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm playing Seeksorrow. And I mentioned last week that Seeksorrow comes from a long line of rather grim men who had grim professions. And I didn't mention the grim deaths that these men have suffered. So, for example, Seeksorrow's great-grandfather was an undertaker who was kicked to death by the horse that was pulling a hearse. His grandfather was a clown who died of sadness. And his father simply died of dysentery.
The last might in its own way be the worst.
Yeah, he shit himself to death.
Thanks for elaborating.
Don't feel like he needs to seek sorrow very hard there, does he?
Sorrow seeks this family.
You're writing up the death report of someone. You're like, well, I can't put it like that.
I like the clown that died of sadness. I feel like that's how all clowns die in the end.
It is possible.
That or dysentery.
All the dysentery. Yeah.
The two together in particular, it's a heady mix.
I mean, in their own way, they all died of sadness. I mean, being kicked to death by a horse or shitting yourself to death. I mean, sadness kind of comes as part of the deal, right?
I don't think if you were kicked to death by a horse, you'd have time to feel much sadness.
You're right. We should argue about this.
We got time. It's only 9 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys can argue about
nothing but-
absolutely anything.
Problem is, I am thinking about it.
How have you guys survived 67 bloody chapters?
I haven't. I died.
I've just avoided horses. Fine.
That's the safest course.
Don't forget to check out the latest episode of Around the Campfire, our companion podcast, which comes out every 2 weeks. And today's one's an awesome listen. And please remember, heroes are made not by the powers they possess, but rather by the choices they make and the paths they venture down. So let's turn the page on the next chapter of Small Embers.
That feels like a direct criticism of how we play this game.
Previously on Small Embers, the new look Order of the Heron with Frost Hollow gravedigger Seeksorrow in tow breach the walls of Castle Ericsson. While considering their options, they hear the voice of Luwarin Advaris, Ericsson's right-hand man, calling through an entrance to the east of the courtyard. Moving swiftly, the group concoct a plan to disguise themselves as blue cloaks and take a prisoner, Vander, to the dungeons and allow them safe passage past the watchful Luwarin. However, Seeksorrow's lies are unconvincing, and Vander reveals himself by drawing his flintlock and placing it under Luwarin's chin. Simon Slubbins, please calm down. There is really no need for any rash decisions. I don't understand. I don't understand what is happening.
Indeed, Simon Slubbins here at your service. You may remember me. Now, we're going to have a little chat in the stairwell over there. I suggest you come quietly if you want to remain on this mortal plane.
Mr. Slubbins, there is no need for this behavior. If you wish to see the prince, I could take you to him.
A little conversation first. No violence necessary.
Very well.
And Vander begins to lead him with the flintlock into the stairwell.
And Seeksorrow gives the hand that he's holding a little squeeze to make it clear that the knife needs to be let go.
And he lets go and the knife hits the floor. Point down.
Petren, you hear Vander's, so you hear Tock's voice from the bag saying, Petren, I suggest we send Cuthbert to the top of the stairs to keep watch.
That is not with us.
Of course he isn't.
And just as a quick aside, Seeksorrow takes that knife, doesn't leave it just point down in the middle of the floor. He picks it up for, just not leave obvious clues lying around.
Are all your characters going to have enormous knife collections?
And there's mist as well for me to throw at.
Is there a door that we can all kind of get in and shut so we feel we have some privacy?
It's the same door that Petren came down. Is right next to you.
Perfect. Once we're all inside, then Vander will shut the door but keep the flintlock trained.
You have the flintlock and the full attention of Luwarin Advaris.
Now, Luwarin, a few questions from your old friend Slabbins. Are you aware you serve a vampire?
He is not a vampire. It is rumor and conjecture. It is nonsense spread by our enemies.
And what if I could attest with my own eyes that I have seen him perform acts only a vampire would achieve?
Well, first I would point out that you only have one eye, and secondly, I have been in his employ for decades, and I have seen no evidence of vampirism.
So I'm gonna sort of tap Vander on the shoulder. Vander, he thinks the prince is in this castle. That would be a way to prove that Ericsson's not who he says he is, wouldn't it? That's not Augustus.
Indeed, Petren. Would it surprise you to know, Luwarin, that your loved prince is in fact no longer?
No longer living?
You remember I was a part of his party when we met at the edge of the woods some days ago.
Of course.
He was a friend to me, Luwarin. A best of friends. We found his body in a temple not far from here, savaged by a creature of pure evil.
But it is not possible. I showed him to his room. This is too much. You ask me at the point of a weapon to believe you that my master of 3 decades is a vampire, that he has killed the prince that I have seen within the last day, and you expect me to believe you?
Well, why don't you take us to the prince, Luwarin? We could just pay him a visit, couldn't we? And if he's just the prince, then we're lying, aren't we? And you can have us arrested or whatever it is you do. If we can show you he's not the prince, well, it's a different situation, isn't it?
I think that would be a very good idea. I think we need to understand exactly what is happening here.
Can I just take a time out there? What's the plan here? Because if we go to the prince and show he's not, then aren't we just screwed anyway? Like, we're gonna
murder him and then...
And then we've got Luwarin on our side.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we get
But
Luwarin on our side.
Luwarin's not a big enough piece here so we persuade one of his underlings.
Yeah, but he might be able to tell us where Ericsson is. You know, like he's our inside man, right?
We've got to then face what the prince is, if indeed we don't know who he's got as the prince.
I'm pretty sure we can take the prince.
And the guards and I'm going with it. I'm just pointing out that this is a real change of plans. I'm okay with it. I'll go with it.
Yeah.
I
vote in favour. I reckon we can do it.
I see there is an issue of trust that remains between us, Luwarin. As my friend says, though, if we can show you the prince is false, I trust that you would assist us.
If you can prove to me that the prince is not the prince and is some kind of monstrosity, then of course, I will help you. We cannot have monstrosities near the dear warden. Think of the danger he could be in.
I see. Well, to build on this fragile relationship of trust, then, I will remove my flintlock from your person.
And Vander places it back out of sight.
And in exchange for your discretion, we will come with you to the prince. But be warned, the first sign of treachery, you will die first.
There is no need for threats. I am not an enemy. You are treating me as such. But let us go to the prince and find out exactly what is happening.
Lead on then, Luwarin.
Can I ask a quick question? Do we, in character, know how to make a mask weaver reveal itself? Out of character, I know it's a noise, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure we heard something from the knife. Hang on. Name escapes me now.
William,
the knife. Yeah, and Sepulchral Marsh that once murdered, they turned back into a mask weaver.
Well, actually, we could do that.
I assumed we were going to go.
That is my favourite phrase in all of D&D. Like, in all of D&D. We could do that.
I mean, I'm happy to just literally just blow its head off with a flintlock because...
It's immoral, it's insane, and we must do it.
I think that would be a great way and say, look how the body's changed, not the prince. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, we've got a plan. Vander whispers to the rest of the... I'm going to mental message the rest of the party.
You can only do it to one person.
Okay, who am I next to me whispering and can I catch everyone?
Yeah, you guys are all very close together.
Okay.
The next few minutes may get a little frenetic. Always follow my lead.
And Petren nods silently in response.
Yeah, and Seeksorrow does. And as if partly trying to persuade himself, he goes, well, it's not boring, is it?
Barely a dull moment, Seeksorrow.
Seeksorrow looks at Vander and gives a little smile at that.
Luwarin leads you into the tower on the other side of the courtyard. Cobwebs stretch between the columns that support the vaulted ceiling of the great dusty entrance hallway, dimly lit by sputtering torches in iron sconces. The torches cast odd shadows across the faces of 8 stone gargoyles, squatting motionlessly on the rim of a domed ceiling. Cracked and faded ceiling frescoes are covered by decay. Double doors of bronze stand closed to the east, and he leads you to the north, up a wide staircase climbing into darkness. We are almost there. It is the door at the end of this corridor.
Oh, thanks, Luwarin. You have held up your end of the bargain, and we will do the rest.
Seeksorrow doesn't trust this, and he hefts the axe.
Tock and Tick will climb out of their bag
Petren draws his sickle.
with no explanation.
And Vander pulls out his flintlock. since we're all going.
Really are convinced that the prince is not who he says he is, aren't you?
So convinced, my friend. I believe we won't need to use these weapons before you use yours.
Gives you a quizzical look. Very well. And he strides up to the door. He knocks 3 times, turns the handle, and enters.
Tock and Tick might follow him first because they're thinking that they're probably some of the ones that the Maskweaver won't recognise. Also, possibly Seeksorrow. I mean, definitely Seeksorrow. Whereas the Maskweaver will definitely recognise Vander.
So you follow Luwarin into a huge, opulent room with a roaring fire. There is a painted portrait of Wolf Ericsson above the fire, huge draped curtains of velvet, a 4-poster bed, and in shadow in the far corner, there appears to be a cage, although you can't make out what's inside it. Stood by the fire, swilling what looks like brandy, is Prince Fabian Augustus Zeno Donoflian. He turns to face you.
Well met. How can I help you?
Ah, Augustus, says Vander, stepping forward. It has been too long.
Prince Fabian's back straightens as his hand drifts towards the hilt of the sword around his waist.
Vander's flintlock is up just as quickly.
Now, no need for violence.
Hello, my friend. It has been a long time.
It certainly has. So good to find you in such rude health.
All of you, with the exception of Seeksorrow, can see that his eyes are darting around the room, looking for an escape. But the only obvious sign of escape would be through the door that you entered, or through a large set of windows to the east of the room.
Tock, be so good as to cover the window.
And Tick will close the door.
I see. Well, in that case, how can I help you? What brings you to my chambers this day?
A matter of some confusion, Prince. But nothing we can't iron out in but a moment.
And with that, and without moving the flintlock an inch, Vander turns to Luwarin.
Now, Luwarin, I have a letter for you.
And with that, Vander produces the letter he got from the Winter Raven, which is from Luwarin's brother, and explains the situation. He hands the letter over to Luwarin.
This may be a troubling read, Luwarin. I trust you will consume its information without reaction, though. I commend it to you now.
Somewhat confused, Luwarin takes the letter, opens it, and begins to read. His eyes fixate on the words as he scans the parchment all the way to the end. He then looks at you, Vander, and screws up the parchment in a fist in his hand. His face remains impassive, and he turns to face the prince.
Now, Luwarin, I made you a promise outside the door that we wouldn't use our weapons until you used yours. Tell me, what would you like to do?
He marches calmly up to the prince, his head bobbing side to side as he scans the person stood by the fireplace. The prince watches him in return, but doesn't move. And then, quick as a flash, Luwarin draws 2 blades from his back, spins both in his hands, and jabs them into the sides of the prince. The prince's form undulates for a moment, and you see the mask weaver's true form beneath. Roll for initiative!
Oh, that's massive. God damn it. 2 for Vander. I knew my streak couldn't carry on.
Just when you want it, yeah.
14 for Seeksorrow.
9 for Petren.
3 for Tock.
3 for Tock, was that?
Yeah, I rolled a natural 1.
God damn it.
We're all slightly taken aback by Luwarin's impetuous actions.
And yet somehow saw it coming.
Yeah.
Who has the highest dexterity total score between Tock and Vander, please?
Tock's is 2. I believe Vander's is 1. It's lower than the giant robot.
I have other skills.
Indeed.
Most notably, that of a postman.
It's quite a skill.
Yes.
I can imagine Vander saying, like, give me the right leverage over the right person at the right time, and I can change the world.
You can't imagine the Royal Mail having that on the side of their vans.
Yeah.
You buy a stamp and that's what it says on it. Oh.
It's quite weird that my first combat as Seeksorrow is fighting Augustus.
Okay, we are at the top of the round with Augustus.
Okay.
Augustus is going to...
Oh God, I thought you meant me. That's horrible.
No. Okay, so Augustus is going to disengage from Luwarin, and he's going to sprint to the east, to the cage. In a panic, he pulls the lock and opens it up.
Oh no.
And out of the cage appears the stretched, deformed visage of Sepulchre Marsh.
Sepulchre Marsh.
He screams in an ungodly manner and enters the fight. That is the end of Maskweaver Augustus's turn, and now it's Marsh's turn. On all fours, he skitters across the room at speed and leaps into an attack against Luwarin. He slashes at him with his talon-like fingers, but Luwarin is ready and avoids the attack.
Oh, I was really hoping you would attack Augustus then.
Frustrated, Marsh bares his fangs and attempts to bite the champion of the Blue Cloaks. But again, Luwarin sees the attack coming and holds both of Marsh's wrists far away enough to stop the bite attack getting through. Next up is Petren.
Are you sure? Because I rolled 14 on initiative and Petren was 9.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Next up is Seeksorrow.
Yeah, Roy. So Seeksorrow thinks that the fancy gentleman is now his second most important target because of the biting, clawing vampire creature. So he is going to get
Sensible chap, that.
to here. I think gives me advantage.
Yes, it does.
Seeksorrow swings his giant two-handed axe. That is 17. That is 12 slashing damage.
Ooh.
And do not forget that the axe has been coated in silver. Okay, and I have extra attack, so I believe I can go again.
Go again.
That is an 18. 17 slashing damage.
Ooh, crap. So the rest of you see as Seeksorrow pulls out the huge axe that is coated roughly in silver as he slashes it twice into the back of Marsh in great big swings. You can tell that he's proficient with this weapon. It is not the first time he has used it. Next up is Petren.
So I think Petren has been quite upset by the appearance of fake Augustus. And so rather than do something sensible like spellcasting, I think he's just going to charge him and swing at him with his sickle.
Nice.
Dashes over to Augustus, as Harry has it, and swings at him with his sickle.
Oh, God.
That's 10.
It's a miss. I like this Petren's new sickle.
Disappointing. That's it from me.
Tock.
Well, okay, so I think Tock is going to go and assist Petren because he's his friend. So Tock is going to advance, drawing the Dark Blade on Augustus. Tick, however, is going to move over to protect Vander, drawing his airlock. So Tock's attack, which won't be with advantage because we're not flanking properly. Okay, so swinging the Dark Blade, he gets a 25 to hit for 13 damage.
Very nice.
Second swing, though, is an 18 to hit
Yes, it does.
for a further 12 damage. Yeah, this thing's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. The rest of you hear the kind of almost singing swings of the Dark Blade as Tock gets to work.
Tick, however, trains the airlock on the vampire, Sepulchre Marsh.
Okay.
It's a 24 to hit, but only 4 bludgeoning damage. Not magical damage, just bludgeoning damage. Actually, I need to make those silver, don't I, at some point? I haven't yet, though.
The pellets from the airlock?
Yeah. They're copper at the moment. Need to upgrade to silver coins.
Hit into the creature, but it almost doesn't register the hit.
Pooh.
Mr. Vander Finnick.
I'm just trying to understand the battle space. So I've got Augustus being fought by Tock and Petren, and then I've got Luwarin and Seeksorrow fighting the vampire.
Time to find out what vampires are vulnerable to.
Vander raises a ponderous hand and casts Lightning Bolt. So that's a dexterity saving throw from your part.
Which is a fail. Max damage.
Nice. I think that's 68. That's 28 damage for Marsh.
Badass.
Out of Vander's hand, arcs of lightning make their way across the room and strike Marsh on the chest. Connected for a second to Vander, he sears and burns, screaming. The lightning sears the painting. You see burning molten paint disintegrate as the paper draws away from the lightning itself. And finally, the portrait bursts into flames and falls from the wall. Have that paper.
That was a treasure worth 1,000 gold pieces.
I thought you were going to burn like a funny, burn eye holes or like burn a
Smiley
moustache.
face. Yeah. They keep calm.
Back to the top of the round with Augustus.
I get a reaction on Augustus's turn. At what point do I get to do that? When someone starts their turn within 10 feet of me.
Ah.
He is within 10 feet of you, so it sounds like I'm not sure what it is you're talking about, but that sounds to me like you would go first and then he would have his turn.
I'm using my Halo of Spores.
Did everyone know that he had spores? Just
Sounds lovely.
Hello, I've got spores. So yeah, when a creature moves within a space within 10 feet or starts its turn there, my reaction deals 1d6 necrotic damage unless they succeed on a Constitution saving throw.
First time, I
Which
think.
is why he's very unpopular down the pub.
It's against my spell save DC 16.
That is a failed Constitution saving throw from Augustus.
It's just 1d6. It all counts.
Roll it up.
4.
Would you like to describe what that looks like to everyone else?
So yeah, to the presumable horror of everyone, a cloud of spores starts to appear around Petren, and they drift towards Augustus. And as he, breathing heavily in combat, he inhales them. You can see him start to cough and splutter and look rather unwell.
Oh, sorry.
Grim. I love it. Okay, so Augustus coughs and splutters at the appearance of the spores, and he begins to change shape. Can I have wisdom saving throws from Tock, Petren, and Seeksorrow, please? Only a DC 12.
20 for Seeksorrow.
24 for Petren.
Okay, I've got a thing I can add to it in case I need to. Right. Okay, I am going to add that. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm rolling for, but Tock's unspeakable genius is going to give him a +5 to that roll, so he now has a 16.
So annoyed that someone else in the group is challenging me for unspeakable genius. I let you have intimidating.
What's your intelligence characteristic there, Vander?
No comment, Tock.
Okay, so you all avoid the frightened condition. You are not unsettled by the unsettling visage. So instead, the creature is going to attack Petren with 2 attempts at a slam.
What does it look like now? Sorry, you didn't read the...
The skin of Augustus has changed to a pallid kind of grey colour. There are 2 glowing white eyes, but no discernible facial features anymore. All of the clothes have gone behind a sinewy body, kind of covered in muscles, and it looks completely unnatural and quite disgusting. And it attempts to slam Petren. Rolling a natural 1 doesn't help with the first attempt. And the second, 23.
That'd be a hit.
Gosh. Well, please take 11 bludgeoning damage. So he picks up Petren in his surprisingly muscular form, lifts him up in the air and slams him into the ground. You see his hands kind of spread out as he then turns to face Tock. Next up is Luwarin, who's going to launch 2 vicious attacks onto Sepulchre Marsh. First of which misses, and the second misses, obviously overcome with the horror of the situation. With his 2 blades, one in each hand, he swings wildly at Marsh but misses both, as the creature, with kind of blood pouring out of his mouth, is screaming in his face.
To be fair, he only just read in a letter that vampires existed.
Yeah,
and now
true.
he's fighting one moments later.
He was learning curb.
Yeah.
And now it is Marsh's turn. The rest of you see as some of the wounds inflicted on Marsh begin to close up as he heals himself.
Oh. Not cool.
And Marsh has to do the same thing, with the spores.
20.
That'll do.
Marsh only has eyes for Luwarin at the moment, so he's going to launch 2 more attacks, 1 with the claws and 1 bite attack. 14 for the claws is a miss. 14 for the bite is a miss. Luwarin, despite his panic state, is able to hold the creature at bay as it definitely slashes at him and tries to bite at him, but he can't get any purchase. Seeksorrow.
Okay, so Seeksorrow feels the day he's had, the rising dead that he's been fighting with, feeling confused and horrified by all the things he's seen, and he feels a kind of bubbling rage, but also a slightly strange sense of joy to be finally doing something about it, with something to hit with his axe, which is something he can understand. So he's going to use his Great Weapon Master feat, which is basically going to take 5 off his attack, but he's going to get +10 damage if he hits it. So he, holds the axe further down near the kind of handle end and takes a wild golf swing at the back of Marsh. That is a 27.
Wild golf swing with a great axe.
Yeah.
So that's 14, and I roll a d10 as well?
What, the d10 for the Great Weapon Master?
Yeah.
No, it just adds 10. It doesn't add d10.
Oh, it adds 10. Okay, so 24.
I think so, yeah.
24.
Yeah, +10 damage. Yeah, so 24 for that attack.
So the rest of us just get sprayed in brains, is that?
It's the typical golf thing. You just hook it into the wall,
Marsh does not look long for this world.
And a extra attack for Seeksorrow, so he's going to swing exactly the same way. So I've rolled a 22, which was the actual roll was 19, and I've got improved critical, which means that counts as a crit. And I rolled a 14 to get the extra 10 for the Great Weapon Master, so 24. And then what do I get for the crit?
Double everything except your modifier.
Oh my god.
42.
Oh my god.
Seeksorrow, please tell us a story.
With this kind of weird mix of rage and joy bubbling in him, Seeksorrow takes an enormous swing with the gigantic axe, and Marsh's newly acquired vampire body just explodes into a mixture of droplets and vapor, and every single inch of the room is covered in a fine red mist.
No one is more surprised than Luwarin, whose face is now dripping with gore.
Yeah, there's a Luwarin-shaped gap on the far wall of like places where blood hasn't hit.
Marsh is no more, and you still have an attack and movement for your turn. You've only used one attack.
If I was to go to the right of Augustus, would I be at advantage because of where Petren is?
Not really, no.
Fine, so in that case, I'll just go in over here. So I move in alongside Augustus. I'm not going to use the Great Weapon Master thing here, but I am going to swing the gigantic axe. Okay, that's a natural 20 for 28. Yeah, so 11.
A disappointing critical.
That is a disappointing critical.
But a hit.
If I'd rolled a 1 or a 2, I could have re-rolled it. But the 3, I can't.
So yeah, the shimmering form of the Mask Weaver is surprised to suddenly being attacked on 3 sides. Petren.
Yeah, Petren is just going to continue swinging at Augustus. His blood's up. All the chaos in the room has led to him just swinging. It's a 21 to hit. 4 slashing.
Wow. Suboptimal, I would suggest.
Yep. Not very good at fighting.
I mean, you are a druid, so kind of...
I should use my quarterstaff. Sickle's useless.
Got like a legendary quarterstaff.
Yep.
You can see the panic in the eyes of Augustus.
And Petron's just swinging in a blind rage and happens to slice down on a shoulder more from luck than judgment.
Tock and Tick.
So I think Tick is going to wait by Vander and possibly not fire into the melee, considering his friends are all in front of him. Tock, however, is just going to carry on attacking with the Dark Blade. A 16 to hit is a hit. 12 damage.
Ooh, very nice, very nice.
Is it enough?
It is not.
Then a second attack. A natural 1. He misses.
So the Dark Blade slices into the creature for the first attack, but then it ducks out of the way of the second, realizing the power of the weapon that Tock wields.
Okay, Tick is going to move up and prepare to basically, if the Mask Weaver tries to escape by launching itself out the window, Tick's going to stop, basically block him and wrestle him. Okay.
Very smart. Mr. Vander Finnick.
Vander is going to begin to stride towards the group as they melee Bo Augustus, and I'm going to extend my hand high over my head and try and cast Mind Spike. The old classic.
Has Vander ever used just a weapon, like a hand melee weapon? Has he got one?
It's got his flintlock, I guess, isn't he?
Yeah, flintlock's the only thing.
Okay, he doesn't have. It'd be interesting if.
It's been a while since I've been able to describe what I'm after. I'm going to target the part of his brain that remembers the shape of a human, because he's obviously concentrated to keep himself the right shape. So maybe I can add some really weird anomalies in there.
Remove your proprioception of limbs.
And I get a 15 on that. How's that gone?
That's a miss.
Oh, no.
AC 16 then.
He managed to hold his shape.
Yep.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I really like it, but no, unfortunately not.
Creativity wasted.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm going to continue striding towards them. I don't expect to get there before this guy's dead. So just carrying on with that.
Okay, we're back to the top of the round with Augustus, who is going to disengage from combat and sprint directly for the window.
Tick is going to use his reaction to wrestle him.
Oh, nicely done.
Beautiful.
For Augustus is going to die in a game of wrestle hoop.
The score to beat is 6.
Oh,
But it's fine because tick rolls a 10.
So the rest of you see what could have been an incredible display of strength is more like a slippery eel just kind of being pulled back by someone.
It's like a fridge trying to fall on a slippery eel.
But he is successful, and Tick is able to grasp the creature in his metal mitts. That's the end of his turn, and it is Luwarin's turn. He steps forward, says to the rest of you, who would like the honors?
Tock looks to see if he's holding some honors.
who would like to?
Feels like Seeksorrow is the only one who doesn't have a personal beef with this thing, so can't really.
As Luwarin is walking towards the Mask Weaver, the Mask Weaver's face begins to change into that of Augustus, and you see your friend reforming before your eyes in the grasp of Tick.
Petren steps forward and puts his hand across Luwarin's shoulder and says, I'll do it. That's not Augustus. It's an abomination. It would be a kindness to remove it from the world.
Query, Petren. Is it worth trying to extract information from its brain?
Vander reluctantly steps forward.
A moment, please, Petren, though. I believe you have the right idea.
And Vander addresses himself then to the Mask Weaver.
I will be frank. Your time on this mortal coil is brief, but I can make it exquisitely painful, unless you tell me what I wish to know.
The Mask Weaver changes form once again into an austere-looking woman. What is it you'd like to know? Oh, I can see into your mind, you know. Who's Joseph?
Vander's hands grab his cane as he tries to control himself.
I'm afraid that is a step too far.
And with that, he casts Detect Thoughts. But I'm going to take absolutely no care not to scramble his thoughts while I'm detecting them.
You can't detect thoughts without breaking a few eggs.
Exactly. I'm going to go in there with the psychological equivalent of a whisk.
Yeah. But my brain's not an omelette.
Mind whisk him.
Okay, so you get the surface thoughts for free, but as an action, you can attempt to force it to make a wisdom saving throw to learn deeper secrets.
I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to take any surface thoughts I can scoop whilst I'm doing it, though.
Vander, you enter the mind of the Mask Weaver. It's quite unlike any mind you've invaded before. The scene of ever-shifting sand dunes, as you're able to read its surface thoughts. It's scared. It doesn't want to die. It is constantly shifting through tactics and combination of words, both offensive and defensive, to convince you to let it go. It's getting desperate.
Can I just pause for a second and whisk those thoughts? Give them a thorough basting and then I'll move down.
It has failed its wisdom saving throw.
Oh dear.
With little defense against the power of your will, you easily delve deeper into its psyche. You're blinded by a kaleidoscope of colors, faces of hundreds of people. Some you recognize, most you don't. And then you find yourself watching a singular blackened spire against an ashen sky. The ground is covered in a thick, black, pulsating ichor. You've been here before. Just once. Walking up to the large open doors is the grey-skinned figure of the Mask Weaver. It's as scared now as it was then. You follow it into the cavernous room, and it approaches the throne made from human skulls. Sat atop, wreathed in shadow, is a creature of such power that it emanates from it in waves. The Mask Weaver takes its place, kneeling alongside 4 others of its kind. And the shadow speaks.
You have been lent to me for a purpose. Each of you has a target. They must be replaced. Once successful, we shall begin.
The shadow turns to each in time and says a name.
Patrician Cagliostro. Luwarin Advaris, Elector Gustav, Warden Ericsson,
Finally, it turns to this mask weaver.
Emperor Salazar.
Suddenly, you're dragged from the throne room in the Feywild to the outskirts of the Citadel. Your mask weaver is surrounded by members of the Shadow Vanguard, being overseen by the Emperor himself. Once again, you feel its terror, but not of defeat, or what may happen to it at their hands, but what will happen if it fails its mission. Desperately, it tries to change shape once again, taking any form which would keep it alive. As it looks around, it sees a tall, hooded creature whispering into the ear of the Emperor. No matter how hard it tries, the mask weaver cannot read this creature's thoughts. The Emperor nods, and the creature speaks.
Take it prisoner. I have questions it must answer.
Once again, the scene shifts to the familiar dank darkness of the Fingers prison. The mask weaver is in its cell. The tall, hooded creature it knows to be Paragon Ohm enters the cell.
You need not fear. I will not harm you. I just need you to answer one question. Who sent you to this plane of existence?
The mask weaver mumbles and fidgets for a moment, looks up, and with no other options, firmly says, "The Hushed One."
Good.
Unexpectedly, the creature's deeper thoughts scramble and distort as the scene vanishes, and you find yourself back in the tower of Castle Ericsson, your body covered in sweat.
Kill it.
Much less keen now that it's not a facsimile of Augustus. All of Petren's bluster has kind of faded away.
As Petren hesitates, Tock is going to follow Vander's orders, and using his spare hand, he just slices down and dismembers the creature from neck to waist.
Vander strides to the window and looks out into the gloom.
Query, Vander, what did you learn from its brain?
Something most troubling, Tock. In the Mask Weaver's thoughts, I was able to discern another realm. The realm of the Hushed One. The Mask Weaver appeared to be some form of emissary, sent to our realm, and here to corrupt figures of power. Wolf Ericsson was only one. The Emperor, another. It appears we are playing with smaller figures in a much, much wider game.
And we will end it there.
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Petren Oakflower, Alex Morrison as Seeksorrow, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your Dungeon Master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support: Zeus Legion, Zero Nova, Sepulchre Stennet, Marky B, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sikora, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, SJ Phionics, Richard Ungamus, Rabbi Camel, Team Stay Toxic, Path Pursuit, Paris Pakar, Liz Beckett, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Queenie, and a special extra thanks to our very own Council of Rojan, Mama Strange, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London. Yep. Voila.
What was with the lion? Never mind. I must have been imagining things.
Yes. Awesome plan, Dave. I keep on wanting to interject stuff like that as Tock, but I'm like, I don't think Tock would, it's not in character for him to be that perceptive.
It was weird because I was quite surprised when Tom said he had to go off and write.
Because I thought he was leading us to it.
Yeah, I thought I was being pointed in that direction.
He probably wasn't expecting us to murder him. Maybe that's.
He turns to face you. How can I help you?
It's like I'm here.
I was not expecting combat quite so quickly. Fair play to you. I love
I was
it.
going to say, I don't know why you weren't expecting it to get back immediately.
Because I'm a buffoon and I never learn.
Yeah.
Petren, Oakflower. Sour.
Petren steps forward and puts his hand across Luwarin's shoulder and says, "I'll do it." Oh, hang on, that was 5-4.
He's back!
Conserving his resources. I'm so proud.
It's proper D&D, everyone! Amazing. More.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our Linktree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.